In 2015, a proposal to construct a mosque in Bendigo in central Victoria tested our planning system. It tested our understanding of what significant social effects are, as well as our importance in identifying what we value about our community and our sense of place. Now, as planners, we play an important role in the built environment. But our role in this is not just about the physical manifestation of the city. It's not just about roads and housing and new housing lots and hospitals and other infrastructure. But it's also about our well-being and about creating a place to live. Now, as planners, I believe that we have a responsibility through our professional practice to support strong communities and to help them to be strong, resilient and equitable. Our cultural diversity is an important part of that resilience, and if we're to create a livable future, we have an obligation to further those objectives. But what happens when this obligation is tested? What happens when planning is pushed to the front of the political campaign and where planners are forced to question their own moral fortitude? Now, for most of us, our professional practice is filled with the important issues of overshadowing, overlooking, visual bulk, building height, traffic generation, car parking rates. But what happens when we're asked to consider whether our own personal position on a matter impacts or influences our capacity to either support or perhaps reject a proposal? What happens when planning inadvertently becomes part of a dystopian world, where the ugliest aspects of our society are brought to bear and planning gets pushed to the forefront of a political agenda? How do we as planners react to such a challenge? Now, while it's not quite the handmaid's tale, this proposal to construct a mosque in 2015 did, I think, just that. And if I had lived through it as an expert that was tasked with the responsibility of establishing what the significant social effects of that proposal might be, I just simply wouldn't believe what had unfolded. Now, the concept of community benefit is well established within the Victorian planning system, but recent changes to the regulatory framework meant that this idea of significant social effects is less tested and the implications around it are less known. This mosque proposal inadvertently tested the planning profession's understanding about what a significant social effect actually is, and tested, I think, our broader society's understanding about race and religious tolerance, and in my view made some long-standing changes to the local community of Bendigo's sense of place. Now, the establishment of a place of worship itself in an industrial zone is a fairly unremarkable planning issue. There's significant case law to support the location of such a use within a transitional industrial area. But 2 years ago, a proposal to build a mosque as opposed to a church saw thousands of people stridently oppose this. This saw the emergence of what I can only describe as the inherently racist Rise Up Australia movement and the funding of a bitter campaign from all over Australia, culminating in personal intimidation, death threats and violent protest rallies. Now, ultimately, this was a protest that was lost, and I have to say hats off to the councillors and planners at the City of Greater Bendigo who worked through some immense public pressure on a very strident environment to really break through and support the proposal. The matter was then appealed to the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal, where the matter was supported by council, and it then went to the Supreme Court of Victoria, where again the matter was supported, and finally to the High Court of Australia, where the appeal was struck out to have without any basis, and the permit is now granted. But what I want to explore with you is not just what significant social effects are. This is not just a case study in significant social effects, but rather what I'd like to explore with you is how the community of Bendigo responded to the proposed mosque, both good and bad, and how the planning profession responded to that response. This gives us an important insight as to our role as planners within the profession and within the planning system, and the importance of communities and how planning can impact on our sense of well-being and our place. Thank you.